What's up, guys? It's Chris. Welcome to VHB Engines. All right, so I got my little cheat sheet here. Closest thing that I ever get to a script. Normally I would write this on a computer, but I wanted to do it at work because I haven't really had as much sit down time at my computer as I normally did. I used to have hibernate, something like that. Vegetate, maybe. Used to vegetate for hours in front of my computer when I came home at night. But like I mentioned the other day, my new schedule of living, it's not working out too well, and I haven't spent that much time. It's actually 2:30 in the morning, and I'm overdue for sleep by like at a minimum of 30 minutes. So yeah, I haven't been living like the way I used to normally do and all that stuff. But anyway, better living, better health, all that good stuff. Trying to live forever. All right, so I guess to get into it, right? I said, was it budget built LSs? Or not? No, I'm lying. Not budget built. Sorry, that's a whole other topic. Kinda, maybe. Not budget build LSs, but NA builds for the LS. And because it was a general spec, generally saying LS builds NA, I'm gonna, like I said before, I was like gonna cover just the budget version, but I can't do that and make it a complete video. So I'm gonna kind of briefly touch on everything. Okay, so this is stuff I'm pretty sure I might have even mentioned before, or if it sounds familiar, it's probably because you watched the LSV version, and the LSV, of course, is pretty much the same thing as this, minus the fucking the VTEC head. Sorry, I've been hearing weird noises. I think this place is fucking haunted. I hope not. Okay, so start off with the block here. A PR3 build, which is B16 pistons, a B16 like USD and B16 pistons. I think. From poking around, what I've seen from results from dyno graphs and stuff like that, and just different threads reading and stuff and talking to different people, PR3 results from just a straight LS with bolt-ons and that PR3 upgrade, it's I think it's safe to say that you're looking at anywhere between like 165 to 170 horsepower, and of course, like I've said before in horsepower mentions, it's always give or take 5 or so horsepower. 5 to 8 horsepower, somewhere around that range, because not every dyno is consistent, not every region is consistent. Elevation has a key factor to play in and things like this. But I think if you go the full bolt-on routes and you get the proper fuel upgrades, like fuel pump injectors, you get your 93 tune, you're looking at, I think it's safe to say 165 to 170 horsepower with that compression bump. It's a very healthy compression bump. So and it's definitely something I can easily see happening. There's a guy that, the only dude I've seen like throwing a lot of information up is named D Silver, and I've mentioned it before. He's a local. He lives in South Florida, and I don't remember who tuned him, but he's in South Florida, and that's what he claimed. And I'm pretty sure there was a dyno graph up at one point in time during the video that's like 170 horsepower with bolt-ons. Now, for those that haven't heard me rant already about this block and compression setup, you're looking at a jump from like 9.6 to 1 from your LS block to 11 and change with the PR3 setup. So I've seen a lot of stock LS with bolt-ons come out at 150, 155 horsepower, and that's what some of the more modern LSs are rated for anyway. 150 horsepower crank. So bolt-ons, you get what your crank rating is to the wheels. So it's not a huge stretch of the imagination for me to think that it's consistent that you'll bang out 165 to 170 horsepower with full bolt-ons and a massive compression jump. Massive. It's a big one. It's a very healthy jump. 9 something to 11 something is a pretty healthy jump in compression. So get yourself a competent tuner, and I think it's easy to see those numbers all day. All right. So the next one would be like a PCT build that's B16B Civic Type R pistons. That's the ones, the high point, the ones everybody knows. All right, so I think playing it safe, 175 to 180 horsepower is something that you can see. It's like a 13 and change compression. Now, I want to say that once you get to a certain point, compression isn't everything. Like, compression alone isn't gonna get you, huge gains. So you'll only make so much from so much compression gains. Which, let me see here. Yeah, I think that's why. Which is why that I would, I would lean away from going anything higher in compression than the PCTs, because anything higher than that, you're not going to really see any gains without doing head work and cams and all that bullshit. I think that they're just, anything higher is just going to be similar results, or probably even a shittier running engine, because you don't have you don't have the fucking breathing ability from a upgraded head or whatnot. All right, so let me look here again. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't mention ITRs, the ITR pistons, P70s, I think they are. It's because like the P70s is actually not a very high bump. Just off the top of the dome, I think it even comes in at less than of a rating than the PR3 does. And so not only is it all lower on compression, it's a bump. I think it's into the 10 something. So it's a decent little bump from what the stock compression for the LS is, but not as high as you would get from the PR3s. And on top of that, you got to modify the small end of the rods to even fit them. So when you're talking about that money, you're talking about either like going in and like trying to finger shave out shit, trying to physically cut out stuff yourself that's gonna hold the proper diameter to slide this wristband in, or machine shop work. And this is not something you want to do. It can get expensive real fast. It's not a great upgrade. It's a cast piston just like the other two are, so it's the same fucking strength, and it doesn't give you the same kind of horsepower gains. It's gonna cost you more money. So if you happen to get a set of those pistons and rods already together and you're trying not to spend any money, then fuck it, why not? But don't expect anything big on the horsepower jump. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't get anywhere, you don't get any much higher than what stock LS is going to give you. So yeah, that's why we're not doing ITRs for this kind of build. That's a bullshit thing to do. And as far as the was it maybe, I think they're P30s maybe, or I might be wrong, it might be single cam pistons, but the Japanese, the JDM B16 pistons, it's kind of like a bastard fucking spot also between this between the PR3s and the PCTs. I think off the top of my head, again, it's like 11 to 1 for PR3s. I think it might be like 11.5 or 11.6 for the JDM pistons. So again, if you're wanting higher compression and you don't want to use the PR3s, and you're trying to get higher than the PR3s, then you're better off with just going with the PCTs from the Type R, if you want to see that. Now, beyond this point, those are the two like obvious builds to go with, because those are cheap and readily available. You can get them for like $100 or less online, and you can definitely get them all day, like used. Well, if you're in a bigger city, in a haunted town or whatever. As a matter of fact, one thing I like getting blown up B16s for is mainly for the pistons, not because of anything else off the block. Not a big fan of the B16. Now, let's see, because we're trying to cover all aspects of the NA builds for upgrades for LS, we're also looking at head only. Now, let's see what I read here. I'm not going to read it out loud. Okay, alright, so maybe I will, or paraphrase myself at least. For a head only build, you're looking at high cost. If you're looking at head only, this is something I mentioned before. Somebody came on one of my other videos and said that the cams from one of the different LS heads, I can't remember, but I'll leave a link in that other one. Maybe you can go back and find that, talking about that. I don't even remember which one I was talking about it in. But they were saying that there's that argument of which cams from which B18 head is better and whatnot, and I said that none of them are. Like there's not going to be any big differences. And to better describe that for the stock cam upgrade, yes, they are. Like you can go and see the numbers on the sheets, the spec sheets. This cam is bigger than that cam or whatnot, and I think it might be cams from the P75 are used in the P8R or whatnot. Anyway, the cams are slightly different in two of the heads, two different variations of the B18 head. And I think it might have been that P8R video I made. That's what it was, the P8R head video. And it's like, well, you can, the measurement's different, so across the board, you'll see gains, right? And to be clear on that, like when you open up a little bit of space on like one of your valve reliefs, right? One of your valve ports, you open up like a tiny little bit. Now that tiny little bit isn't a huge increase, but when you open up that same amount all the way across, it will lead into a bump in compression. So the idea being there that a tiny little bit of added, meat to the lobes will add, across the board add up. But the problem is is when you go and you look at the dyno results, this versus that, with that head, you see no gains. So, no, despite the fact that the numbers say it's bigger, you won't see any gains from that. So don't go out there wasting your time trying to find a specific B18 head or B20 head, because it's the same heads for the most part. There's two different ones. All right, so you're wasting your time there. It's just like I was saying about the JDM B16 pistons versus the American PR3s. The compression numbers are higher, but it's nowhere near enough to see any serious gains. It's going to be so close that it's unrecognizable. So it's definitely not something you would see. Or this definitely not something you would feel in your ass in the car, and definitely not something, most likely not something you're going to see much difference in the results on the dyno. So we don't want to spend any extra money, and we don't want to waste any time looking for parts that aren't going to do anything. So if you're looking for a head-only build, you're not looking at swapping stock heads from B18 to B18 to make any extra power. You're going to need head work. And head work, like I was saying in the beginning before I got sidetracked, is expensive. So do proper head work. You might you're going to want to bigger, maybe bigger valves if you want to really maximize what the NA head's going to give you, or a natural B18 head's going to give you. Maybe bigger valves. So and then cams, of course, and any aftermarket cams if you want it to last. Like if you're going to get a stage 1 cam, which is it's a waste of money for me personally, I believe. You're not going to see much gains there. So you're going to want like a stage 2 or stage 3. We're not going to talk about specific brands because I can't really give you all cam advice. I'd never use bigger cams, because stock cams will always give me the powers I need, because I use a turbo to make power, not the anything else. So anyway, you're gonna need upgraded cams, and so you're gonna need valve springs, retainers, all that bullshit. That whole setup alone for a good brand is expensive. You're looking at that point. For that kind of upgrade, you would have to be very deliberately trying to just avoid VTEC. And my guess is that you're doing this, or you're thinking about building just a straight LS, not because you're trying to make a statement, but because you're trying to get the most bang for what your buck is. And at that point, you'll see just better gains just going to a VTEC head and spending way less money than you would fucking with trying to do cams and all that shit. And it kind of goes to another argument of, B18s and B20s, you kill VTEC engines if you just do this and this. Well, yeah, but if you do that and that to this same engine over here that's VTEC, you're still going to wind up with the VTEC being stronger. So that's why I said head only isn't the greatest thing. Most likely not going to, the problem is with doing head only, like cams and shit on a stock B18 or B20, is that the gains that you'll see from using cams will probably be about the same gains you would see from the big ass compression bump. So you would need to get to that sweet point where you do the compression bump and the head at the same time to really maximize gains there. And like I said, my thought is that you're not trying to do that. And at the end of the day, I really don't see too many 200 horsepower NA builds out there, without we're not talking about race fuels and all that bullshit. I'm not saying that they've never been done, but the practicality's sake, like how many NA B18s you see out there running around 200 horsepower. So I think that 180 horsepower, or 175, 180 horsepower is a very, achievable goal, and a very decent one. But at the same time, too, I guess, if you can expect 180 horsepower from that big-ass high compression bump, then it might be possible, if you go with a really aggressive cam setup, that you could see maybe 200 horsepower or close to it with that. But a 20 to 25 horsepower jump from cams alone in that kind of engine is I don't know. I can't for sure say that you'll see that. And I don't want to give you false hope and spending a lot of money for you not to come up, because nobody wants to spend a lot of money expecting a certain horsepower number and then come up short on that. All right, so now I guess the other thing would be, and I don't know if I touched on this in both my LSV and B20 video, but I know I've talked about it before with my where you set the rev limiter, and it was like ARP rod bolts, because everybody says, every time that somebody says LSV or B20V, everybody says you have to have ARP rod bolts, and that's bullshit. You don't have to have it. Why? Because, like I said, unless you do a lot of, and I said in that video, unless you do a lot of head work or whatnot, you don't want to rev to this guy. What's the point? You want to rev till you stop making power. So leave that determination up to your tuner. You can either tell him, hey, keep it safe, or you can tell him, hey, play with the numbers a little bit. And I think, was it the stock red line is like 7.2 or some shit like that, 7,000, where your rev limiter is going to kick in on the computer. I think the red line that Honda says that the B18 is like 7.5. So if 7.5 is your like danger limit, or like for Honda saying stop doing it there, then I think taking up an extra 500 RPMs to 8,000 is fine. And then you got to think like this: how often are you going to be really, smashing out the 8,000? So I think that bumping up 500 RPMs is extremely safe to do. Most VTEC engines make power, go up to 8,000, 8.2, 8.5, I think on the Type Rs. So I think if you do the big old compression bump and whatnot, you're not going to see a lot of head gains or not a lot of head modifications. So you probably don't even really need to rev up that high. So for this build, I wouldn't even say, or for most builds, I wouldn't recommend ARP rod bolts as an upgrade because it can get expensive. I think the bolts themselves are like $30, and then most people like taking to a machine shop. But I'll talk about that in a different video. So, and then my counter argument to the rod bolt upgrade is because of the fact that it's like $30 and you take them to fucking machinists, or most people like to do that. How much money are you spending at the end of the day when you could just get a set of H-beams? Now, you can do what I like to do, buy cheapy ones for like $225, or like I love to do, buy used ones for like $80. Eagles or whatever, or buy some H-beams, some Eagle H-beams for like $80. So it's way less money overall than you're gonna do for ARP upgrade. And then it comes with ARPs, and it's a stronger rod and a lighter rod. So then you can get PR3s that are floating, so you can keep PR3s floating on those rods. You can do PCTs that are floating, which I did in a recent build, and put them on those rods. And I'm pretty sure the cost is the same or relatively close to the same. The difference between the floating pistons and the non. And then if you're not going to press the pistons on yourself, you're saving money on the piston pressing, which can get expensive. So there's that. And then if you do have the fucking upgraded rods, then you can definitely not have to worry so much about the revving thing on issue from the block side. You just worry about the head. And then that also opens up the fact that like you could do like the Wiseco pistons or whatever, like 14-to-1 compression on it. But then I think that goes back to what I already covered, saying that unless you start doing head work, you're only going to make so much power off compression. So I think the PR3 build and the PCT build are the only build that the only two versions that I would pick if I was going to stay NA LS. Those are the ways I would go. Now, if you want to throw a boost at the LS later on, then definitely grab the ARP, not the ARPs, but the fucking rods, and then use the floating cast pistons. That you'll make plenty of power if you're going high compression off of it. So if you're going high compression, I wouldn't run a lot of boosts, just small turbo, 300 horsepower, something like that. You can go higher in power. That's up to you. I've already covered that in another video too. I'm starting to mention so many that it's going to be a pain in the ass to tag these fucking videos because I'm going to have to find it in this long ass shit. Alright, so, and then of course cam upgrades, let's see. Okay, and that I've already mentioned what I said, that the stock cams are not going to be any kind of real upgrade, so there's that. If you want to do cam upgrades, you're going to need to go aftermarket if you want to see any real gains. Alright, and I think that's just going to cover it, and this video clocks in right about what I thought. I figured it'd be 18 to 20 minutes, and it is coming up on 19. So, like I mentioned in the other video real quick, I haven't been uploading a fuck ton like I did before, like 4 or 5 videos a week. I'm trying to get back into a steady flow where I'm doing a minimum of once a week. I would like to see 2 a week for myself, and maybe I'll just keep them around the weekend time for me. I just got to find time to come back here and sit in front of the videos, or sit in front of the camera to make the video. If you're not seeing uploads from me, like if you found this because I posted a notification on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, then the chances are that YouTube has unclicked your bell. And remember, not only do you guys subscribe to a channel, if you want to see every one of their uploads, or you want to be notified every time an upload comes, you have to click the bell. And I think if you're a subscriber to a channel and you haven't gone and viewed that channel recently, or if you haven't watched any of their videos, then I think that YouTube will take that as, I don't really want to see this too much, but to try and give us a chance not to be unsubscribed from, it'll unclick the bell, so that way you only get videos intermittently. And if I'm only doing a couple videos every once in a while, then there's a chance that you're not seeing a notification from me for literally months at a time. So recheck your bell to make sure you're getting notifications. And I think that's going to be it for tonight. And I will look back at my little schedule list, and I will see about making the next one soon and get back to you all as soon as I can. All right, guys, so that's going to be it. And peace.